My name's Shellie. I'm a senior consultant working at Ernst & Young's risk advisory practice in Melbourne. I started as a graduate a few years ago, but prior to that I was a student at ANU studying law and history, and I had a number of jobs in my time at university that really helped me build my resume, and by the time I became a graduate at EY I had really probably about 3 or 4 substantial things that I'd done that really kind of made it a lot easier to transition into a full-time job. Most people go to university to get a degree. I think that value proposition is now changing, and you now go to university to meet people and to start to build your network. An extension of going and doing that is to go and do internships and start moving into spaces where you think you might want to work. And so internships for me are a really powerful way to very quickly build networks, but also build the foundations of skills that you will absolutely draw on in your later work. So everything from figuring out how to manage a crowd and manage people's expectations, all the way through to planning, budgeting, those really core kind of project management skills that anybody in a services-based industry will need to know. Having worked in a couple of startups now, I recognise that my job is not to do the thing that's in front of me, but is actually to do the thinking about the 3 or 4 things that have to be done after that, and actually manage that upwards to my bosses. And those same skill sets are employed really everywhere in business, but particularly in big companies where there's a high volume of work and a low volume of staff to do it as well. In a startup, there's plenty of roles that aren't clear. It's really just an environment where you're expected to pitch in and find ways to, solve problems. The value proposition is very clear for me for students wanting to work for startups. It's rapid growth, rapid exposure, the amount of things that you will be exposed to, the learning opportunities, and just the ability to get in on the ground as well. I think we place a lot of stock in establishment and legacy and history, and that's changing really rapidly. University degrees aren't what they used to be, and I think that will be the same for well-credentialed companies as well. Ribit is an absolutely essential part of the ecosystem in connecting people. These are 2 often disparate groups, university students that are really locked on campus or locked in their own social networks, and small to medium enterprises, startups that aren't necessarily have the people or have the resources to actually hook into those kind of established networks like the big companies can. It's hard for them to get on campus and actually sell themselves to students. So this is really a digital marketplace for like-minded people to find one another. And it's absolutely disrupting the way that bigger companies are finding their students. There's a lot of universities in Australia that are realising their competitive edge is actually the employability of their graduates, and the way that they can get their graduates into work early. That starts from day 1 of university, not in your penultimate year.